Okay, welcome everybody to tonight's training. Quit wasting your time. Keys to being effective in practice and business. This is a training that we do these on average every 2 weeks, although I will say I'm taking a small break during the month of August when we're only going to do one in the month of August because I'll be away on my recreation time at our wilderness property. So tonight's topic of discussion, you guys, is literally about what we call authentic ability. But I want to definitely walk you through the process here that gets us to where we are. So here's the title slide for those that are watching. Quit wasting time, the keys to be effective, right? And for those that are not familiar with Full Circle and who we are, we're a coach consulting company specialized in the healthcare industry, of course, mostly with chiropractors, but we also work with other entrepreneurs. And we developed a roadmap. And the roadmap is basically underneath our banners of vision-focused systems and teams. So I'm actually going to switch over to my iPad here, and I'll show you actually how this works, and I'll show you where we are tonight, actually, because I think it's important to get context for what it is we're doing and, quite frankly, why we're doing it, okay? So wait till the iPad does its magic here, right? So there's the Full Circle roadmap. And so our model for ever since I started consulting at the time of this recording, 26 years ago, has been based upon four legs to a table or four pillars. And that is people's vision for their life, which is basically an offset of their purpose. And your purpose is defined in Webster's dictionary as the reason something exists or is done. And I would offer that every living thing on the planet has a reason that it exists or is done. The creative intelligence loved you into existence for a purpose. There's a reason why you're here, and there's a reason for you to do what you do. And your vision is just an extension of the fulfillment of that purpose. Your focus, the focus blocks are the things that are in the way of that vision from expressing itself. This has many different faces. We've seen limiting beliefs, we've seen fears, guilt, hurts, undeveloped skill sets, undeveloped communication pathways, undeveloped leadership skills. There's a real plethora of categories here underneath the focus pillar. And our other two pillars are systems, which are the systems, again, that are needed to fulfill that vision. In the healthcare space, we work with people who have very different visions. Some people see literally hundreds, if not thousands of people in their businesses and their practices, and others see a lot less. And so the systems that are needed to drive those businesses are different. And we like to customize those systems for people. And of course, the last pillar of any business is the team that supports it and supports the vision. So that's the model that I manifested when I started consulting, as I said, as of this recording 26 years ago. And I haven't changed the damn model, because I haven't found a better model. It just seems to work across industries and across people, right? And so what I've found and what I've developed over time is a roadmap, because just like, in the old days, I used to have, the big old fashioned printed maps, and usually they're upside down, or particularly if I gave them to my wife. So now, of course, we have Google Maps, and we have Waze, and we have different ways to take us from point A to point B. But once we're clear, you guys, about, what someone's ideal is, and what we're really focused on is the fulfillment of that vision and the meaning and the dollars that are purposed from that meaning. And then, of course, the freedom that people might enjoy in terms of their quality of life and their time off. But once we got that ideal, then we can look at where people are today, right? And then we can just draw a map and then reverse engineer backwards to the things that we need to focus on in order to move people forward towards their dreams. So the concepts are extremely simple. Of course, the application of that takes a little bit of doing. What I've developed and what the roadmap represents are the most common, the most replicatable action steps I've found that people need to get mastery of in order to move their way through the process. So it's kind of like like three bands of vibration, right? And we have the one band that we call the clarity band, which is clarity about who you are, who you're not, and what your purpose is in life, and what your vision is, and how you're going to fulfill that, what team you need, what systems you need, and what are the blocks in the way. Once you've manifested and got that clarity and earned the right to grow, you get into much more just rolling through momentum manifestation, which is, I won't want to imply that it's effortless, but it takes a lot less effort than it does if you don't have this really clear, base underneath you here in the clarity phase. And then the final phase of life, business, and our opinion is legacy, which is where you're actually leaving a legacy, leaving your mission that is your life's work, and leaving it so that it outlives your mortal life. right? And so there's a very different group of things that people need to focus on in each of these different sort of bandwidths, if you will, of vibration, right? So each time I do one of these teachings, one of these trainings, it's focused on one certain aspect of the roadmap. And, you know, when we're designing this for clients, you know, we can really look and say, okay, what is it that, you know, you need in this quarter, or this quarter, or this quarter, or this quarter, you know, to move your way up through. We can go to the roadmap and we can clearly identify what the steps are and the trainings that support that and stuff. So it's I don't want to oversimplify it, say it's not paint by numbers, but it certainly has changed my work, that's for sure, to make it a whole lot more reproducibly effective. So now that I've mucked this all up, I'll have to do a little bit of erasing here, guys, with my magic pencil to make sure that everybody that's watching this has context. But so tonight's work, you guys, is literally, let's get a nice fancy color here. Let's get pink. Tonight's work is in the manifestation vibration. And in specific, you guys, we're going to be working right here on the authentic expression. And I'll talk to you about what that means, because once people truly get this and get ownership of this, in my experience, you'll never work another day in your life. And effortless manifestation is what every person I've ever interacted with wants in their life and their business. So that's what we're going to manifest tonight. So if that resonates, that feels like something you'd like to hear about, you're in the right spot. Okay. So let's carry on with the conversation, you guys, and let's get to our dialogue for tonight. Get back to sharing this particular screen. So again, we're going to be talking about wasting your time, because in my observation, most business people, most docs waste a ton of time. They're doing things that are not really in their, that you know, the creator didn't love them into existence to do, right? So here are some of the frustrations that I hear as I consult and train around the world, there's a lot of people in life, in practice, in business that are just busy being busy. It seems like it's not getting any easier, you guys. In fact, in the information-laden culture we're in, if anything, it's getting more intense. There's just more information. There's more to do. There's more possibilities. There's more distractions, right? Apparently, there's this thing called social media that can be massively distracting. All kinds of digital media, not just social media, can be extremely distracting. So busy being busy is not the key to being effective. I cannot say that more clearly than that. I grew up on a hobby farm in Northern Ontario in Canada here, and I understand what it's like to be busy, right? Rural farm folk, and my dad was a lumberjack, literally was Paul friggin' Bunyan. And I know what it's like to put in like those long 10, 12, 14-hour days, right? On the tractor, or, you know, whatever different things we're doing in the hay fields with neighbors up the road. Jerry, you would probably remember, well, you, of course, you're related to the Addams family, right? Not the Addams family on TV, but, you know, and spending, you know, days and days and days in the hay fields and stuff from dawn till dusk to get it done. I mean, that's what we did. We were busy being busy. And I'm not suggesting it's not a great life, you guys, but it's not the key to being effective, which is really what my focus is tonight, right? What happens then is I find with a lot of people in business, let me go back to that, is that they get really bored with the routine. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, by definition, is insanity, right? Yeah. And so if we're doing the same things over and over again and we're busy being busy, but we're not necessarily creating different results, by that definition, we're insane. So what do we do about that? And how do we change that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight, right? And then, of course, tied to all of this, I've said it a couple of times, but we're just not being effective or impactful, right? And so I can remember my dad telling a story about his dad, who was a real old school, you know, disciplinarian. And like this is going back into probably the 1940s. And so they were, you know, bringing stove wood up from wherever it was being stored, you know, up towards the house or whatever, so they could be burned. And my grandfather, as my dad tells the story, was walking like one piece of firewood at a time, back and forth, back and forth. And so the boys were kind of following. And then my dad goes, "What the heck? If I carried 3 pieces at once, I'd make 3 times less trips." So he had 3 pieces, and he starts walking. And literally, as he walks past my grandfather smashes the logs out of his hand, smacks them across the face, knocks him to the ground, and says, "Stop being lazy, one at a time." It's like, God bless my grandfather, but I mean, you know, not necessarily the most impactful way to get, you know, from point A to point B relative to, you know, in this example, firewood. But just think, you guys, right, of the things we do day in and day out that we're busy being busy doing, that become routine, become part of what we're doing. And maybe we're impactful a year or 3 or 7 or 10 ago, but because we just keep doing it over and over again, we get bored with it, and maybe it was impactful then, but it may not be impactful today. Right. And so that's really what the nexus of this is to really get a chance to have a look at what is being impactful and what is not. Because what we all really want, in my experience, you guys, we just want to know, what is it that we've got? What can we get with life? What can we give life? And what can life give us back? Right. That's really what we're looking for. And if we want to find the answer to that through our business, so that we can do things like have all the recreation time, the 10 to 12 weeks of recreation time I've been taking for the last 30 years. Boy, you've got to find a way to be impactful and work smarter, not harder, not carry one brick of wood at a time, but maybe you can actually allow yourself to do 3. But have a look at the routines, have a look at the busy work, and see what it is that's really impactful. That's the key to what I want to talk to you guys about. I'm going to show you the formula, okay? What we're really looking for, what every business owner, in my opinion, should be looking for, is putting an ounce of energy in and getting a pound of results out, right? Classically on the farm, you put 2 pounds of energy in and you might get an ounce out, at least in my experience with, that kind of work. Great work, good life, but man, not necessarily the most impactful or effective way to go about things. So again, what we're looking for are ways to put an ounce of effort in and get a pound of results out. And there is a way to do that. I'm going to share that with you tonight. Meaningful work that has an impact, which is obviously the inverse of what we talked about just a few minutes ago, which is being able to get really clear about what it is that brings meaning to our lives and how to be impactful doing that. The byproduct of that is joy, fulfillment, and prosperity, right? And there's a great Zen proverb. I wish I had the quote up, you guys, but it talks about the art of living. Where the master in the art of living makes little distinction between their labor and their leisure, right? They're always just doing both, right? That's basically what the Zen proverb is. I'm paraphrasing it like crazy, but that's the key to that, you guys. And so how do we find that? How do we do that? Because when you get a chance to fulfill your purpose and live a life of purpose, fulfill your vision, and really connect to why the creative intelligence loved you into existence, that is, for me, a highlight. That is fulfilling the reason why you're here on the planet in the first place. Remember I said Webster's defines purpose as the reason something exists or is done. So this is me on stage in New Zealand a couple of years ago at a chiropractic college down there, the New Zealand Chiropractic College. I invited me to speak at their Lyceum, their annual conference. And it was just a magical time. I love New Zealand. I love the Kiwis. I had great feedback from the people there, got to interact with the president and the board and all of those people, and really was able to share 2 talks that were extremely well received. And it was just really felt effortless to me, you guys, because it was me fulfilling my purpose. It was me sharing the biggest and best that's within me with the world, right? And that is what I think life is really all about, right? So here's one of our clients, Dr. Jonathan. And Dr. Jonathan, before we met him, he was thinking about retiring. I actually met him about 5 years ago as of this recording. And he knew that we did business appraisals in our company. And so he was kind of burnt out and really just thinking that he wanted to get out of practice and retire. He'd been in practice for over 30 years and it was just time to change the game, right? So he reached out to me to see, how we did appraisals and how we could, go about getting out of practice. Well, as we talked, and we talked for almost an hour, and he's going, you know what, I think I want to talk to you about doing some coaching. And so we had another conversation about coaching, and he decided that he wanted to not retire. He didn't want to get out of the game. He just wanted to change the way he was doing the game, because quite frankly, he wasn't burned out, you guys. He was bored. He was bored because he wasn't expressing himself from his fullest potential, right? He was quite comfortable. He had a great practice. He had a great business. He was doing well financially, but that really wasn't what he wanted. And his future was kind of hazy and stuff, So he went through some of the processes and the formula I'm going to share with you guys tonight, through our coaching work. He got completely inspired by it. He was no longer bored. His rather large business had a 250% growth spurt, which skyrocketed his profitability. And he was actually in his business 50% less, right? So I don't know, anybody here, show of hands, anybody interested in 250% growth with 50% less effort? Does that really, inspire anybody? Yeah, like that inspires the hell out of me. And so that's one of the reasons why I do these trainings, is to, fulfill my purpose, which is to help other people connect with the greatness that's in them and then express it fully to the world, right? So let's get into the 5 keys to this, you guys. And if you're a note-taking type person, well, you know what? Jot notes. I'm a note taker, so I always jot notes, but it's totally up to you. We're going to talk about these 5 points. How busy does not equal being effective. Just because you can does not mean you should. We're going to talk about listing low priority tasks, identifying high priority tasks, and we're going to be talking about how we're going to transition to what we call authentic ability. Okay. So let's get, actually, I'm going to take just a small pause. We're kind of a smaller group tonight. So if anybody has any questions at this stage of the game, or I'm happy to just throw it in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Here's a random phone number coming in. And if not, we'll just kind of carry on, because I would love to make sure that we get through the material tonight in a concise format, and give you people the opportunity to get what it is that you are here to gain from our time together tonight. And I do appreciate you guys making the effort to be here. It means a lot to me. Let me actually just come back. I want to just share one other piece of the puzzle here, you guys, just to, I find that a picture's worth 1,000 words. I'm definitely a visually oriented person. So, I would offer this for your consideration as we go down into these 5 points in the formula that I want to share with you guys, okay? In the world that I live in, there is, and in the chiropractic world, we talk about, let's make sure we can actually write here. We talk about a universal intelligence, okay? Which to me is just a code word for what I call God, right? And I'm not so much a religious dude that talks about old gray-haired men on clouds, but when I study science, I see that there is a matrix of intelligence in the universe. I agree with Einstein on that one. And this loving intelligence, breathed us, each one of us as individuals, let's make sure we actually spell tonight, Tom. All of us as individuals breathed us into existence for a certain purpose, okay? And wow, I can't even spell tonight, you guys, I apologize. And when that purpose is able to fulfill itself, and our vision, which is tied to our purpose for what our life is going to be and how we want to manifest that, then we are actually operating within what we call your authentic, which is unique to you, your authentic ability. Okay. So I want to be clear that from my perspective, you guys, your authentic ability is a byproduct of that gift of intelligence, that gift of wisdom, that gift of power that comes straight from God, from the universal intelligence that allows us to express ourselves at our fullest level. Okay. So I want to be clear about my perception of that. People can share that or not. That's totally up to them. But to me, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that older, wiser part of you, that part that's connected to the power, wisdom, and creativity that I see when I see, when I study the universe. So that's my my offering for you guys to consider. Try it on like like one of those great sweaters that grandma gave you for Christmas, and see if it fits. All right, so let's go in and let's go through these points, you guys. Busy does not equal effective. And this is basically just another take on the what I talked about earlier when I talked about, my life on the rural farm and the work that we did there and stuff, because we were busy a lot, but we weren't necessarily effective. And I think that somewhere in our Western culture, there's this, we wear like these big badges of honor that says, I work really hard, and somehow because we're busy all the time, working really hard all the time, that somehow that, that's become a thing, right? And then you get guys like Tim Ferriss who come and does the 4-hour work week, and he's like, damn, 4 hours in a week? Wait, I'm doing 60 hours a week. How does that guy pull that off, right? But it's because I talk about myself because I know myself better than you. I had to break that habit I had of just thinking that I had to be busy nonstop all the time. And that's something that I think a lot of people have to really break in order to realize that that in order to be more effective and to literally express themselves at their highest level, they stop being busy all the damn time, right? I read something from a great teacher of mine not too long ago that talked about how until he started taking more time off, his business didn't grow. right? Because he was locked into this busy thing and had that link, you guys, that busy equals effective. And I'm offering that it doesn't. This is one of our sayings at Full Circle at my company that we use a lot. Just because you can does not mean you should, right? Most docs, most entrepreneurs that I've worked with are extremely capable. They're very ambitious. They're very bright. They're self-directed. They're self-actualized. And so there's a lot of capabilities and a lot of skill sets they have or that they've developed. But just because you can do something does not mean you should, right? Because there's literally, if you follow my logic, there's other people that the creative intelligence loved into existence to do those specific things. And so if you're doing that stuff, it's probably in the way of you expressing your true authentic ability, your true genius to the world, and you're selfishly doing somebody else's work. Somebody that actually loves that work, somebody that was brought into existence to do that. I often tell this story. I have an accountant who's a wonderful human, and if Daryl ever watches this video, I want to apologize because I'd say this to his face, but he is one dry son of a bitch, you guys. I mean, gee whiz, he's not the kind of guy I want to go for a beer with. He's just not. But damn, is he a good accountant? I mean, he's just legendary. He's epic. One of the reasons I hired this man is because he teaches tax law to other accountants around the country. That's the guy I want on my team. That guy could tell you more about accounting in 10 minutes than you'd ever want to hear in your entire lifetime, right? But he's literally doing what he was, meant to do. If I try to do my own books or do my own accounting stuff, I'm robbing Daryl from doing what it was that the creator loved him into existence to do, right? Just like, if I'm doing other things that are keeping me being busy, that are not things that are my authentic ability, right? Like teaching, as an example, it's like I'm not being as effective as I could be. I'm not being as impactful as I could be, and I'm actually wasting some of my time, because that's not what I'm here, to do. I was in California speaking in Palm Springs years ago, you guys, and I'm a bit of a fan of the Starbucks chain, right? And so I went they had a little kiosk in the Westin we were at, and I went into the Starbucks, and the little young woman there, a barista, and so I, made my order and stuff, and she made it, and I thought, damn, I've had this drink all over the friggin' world. I swear it's the best I've ever had. I mean, maybe it was just a thing. Maybe it was just a day, right? So I go in the next day, and around the same time, because the program was going on, and she looks at me and she goes, "Grande caramel macchiato, half sweet, right?" And I went, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, it'll be right up." So I knew she was quite good at what she did, so I was impressed. I go the next day around the same time. She's already got the damn drink ordered. She's already got it, basically it's in the works, because she knew my timing was within a few minutes. So I said to her, as she's finishing up the drink, I said, these caramel macchiatos I've had from you, I said, they're the best I've ever had. I said, they're made with something extra special, aren't they? She kind of looks at me, and she kind of thought, well, who's this crazy guy? What's he talking about? I'm not adding some crazy, tequila to the drink, sir. And I said, no. I said, I think you really love what you do, don't you? She kind of looked at me, and she kind of looked around, and there was nobody standing there. She kind of blushed, and she goes, yeah, actually, I really do. I said, you're extremely gifted at what you do as a Starbucks barista. She goes, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And I said, no. I said, I'm going to bet you get recognized. I said, you are probably the best Starbucks barista I've ever interacted with. And I've been shopping at Starbucks for over 20 years. She kind of looks around. She's kind of, a little bit nervous. And she goes, well, actually, sir, I was Starbucks Southwestern United States Employee of the Year last year. I knew it. She loved what she did, and it showed in she made the drinks, because it wasn't something different in the ingredient mix. In my opinion, she made that drink with love. She was expressing her greatness to the world, and whatever the energy of that is that came through her hands and her heart was in that damn drink. I tell you, I didn't love it so much that I'd fly back to Palm Springs just to get a Starbucks, okay? But it was definitely a powerful moment for me, you guys, right? So just because you can doesn't mean you should. You should be robbing somebody else of their authentic ability, and you're definitely not being as impactful as you could be. Third point, you guys, I want to talk about tonight is literally listing tasks, okay? And within specific, I want to talk about listing the lower priority things. The idea is this. Start writing a list of all the things you do a day in and day out, okay? And I mean everything you do, from answering emails to checking patients, to talking to the admin staff, to marketing, to, and get as specific and as detailed as you can. Write everything down. Okay. And also I would encourage you to write the personal things down as well, right? That you do in a day in and a day out, whether it's taking the garbage out or it's cutting the grass or it's washing the car or whatever it is you do, get them all down on paper. And then really go through and think through which of these things are things that I really feel passionate about, things that excite me, and what are things I'm doing because of routine, because I've done it before, because my dad did it or my mom did it, or whatever. You're doing it out of habit. You're not doing it out of passion yourself. Because the key to identifying authentic ability, you guys, is the juice. It's the passion, it's the excitement, it's the joy that it brings, right? Now, clients of ours, we have a very detailed spreadsheet that we use, and there's a whole process that we walk them through. But just for tonight, I want you guys to at least get the 35,000 foot view. Write all the things you do down, and then think about the things that actually excite you, that you're passionate about, that you're actually good at. Okay, and then separate that from the things that, quite frankly, you suck at, or at best you're average. At best, right? So here's a story from my life, you guys. Years ago, we had a waterfront property that was at the time our dream home in the city we live in. It was on the lake, and it was on a Saturday and a nice hot day in June or July. And I went out and I cut the grass and blew the yard and the walkways and all this kind of stuff. It was a big property, so it took me like three and a half, sometimes 4 hours. And I got done this job that was my task, and I'd been doing it for years. And I'm sitting down in the front on the steps, and there's a nice gentle breeze blowing off the water, and the view is great. And I'm thinking to myself, man, do I ever love cutting grass. And then it was like one of those one-handed clap eureka moments where I went, I don't love cutting grass. I love the effect of fresh cut grass. I love the smell. I love the look of my manicured yard. I love the pride of ownership that comes from that. I don't love cutting grass. It was not something I was passionate about, you guys. That was 26 or 27 years ago as of this recording. I haven't cut grass since. Not once. I delegate that. I hire somebody out to do that because my time is worth literally hundreds of dollars an hour. If I can pay somebody 15 or 20 bucks an hour to cut my grass, and my time's worth more than that, it's not only smart economics, right? I'm saving money literally to what I could produce, but also I'm not passionate about it. And you know what, you guys, I just heard recently that a friend of ours has probably terminal cancer. And it's a tough thing to hear. We all know we're going to go someday, right? It's part of the privilege of living is that we know we're going to transition off the planet someday. Hopefully not any day too soon. But you don't really know when your last day is. I sure as hell don't want to be on my deathbed, you guys, and living with regrets and resents and saying, man, am I ever glad I cut the grass again now Saturday? If you're passionate about cutting grass, I'm just using it as a metaphor and example, you guys, go ahead. Does not float my boats, right? So just think about things that don't give you juice, don't give you an inspiration that you're doing at work, at home, and then what you want to do is identify all those high priority things that do give you juice, do energize you. And now you've got a way to separate the chaff from the wheat, to use our old friend Carl Adams' sayings. And you get a chance to really know what it is that is what we call your authentic ability. The goal, you guys, is really straightforward. What you want to do is you want to literally let go of all of those things that are not the high priority stuff. Figure out, can I just stop doing it? I guess technically I could have just stopped cutting the grass, right? Let it turn into a hayfield. Probably could have sold some of that to a farmer, actually. But that's maybe a bit of an extreme example. But there's a lot of things that I used to do that I realized just weren't effective. They weren't impactful. They weren't things that brought me any joy. And I just stopped doing them. And you know what? The crazy thing was, nobody noticed. Nobody noticed. I just stopped doing them and nobody noticed. So it was like, well, I guess that really wasn't something I needed to keep on doing, right? Versus transitioning to those things that are, as Jim Collins said, this great book, a business book, Good to Great. He said, keep the main thing, right? When he did all of those studies, right? It's like, he goes, Boeing doesn't sell coffee. They make airplanes. Starbucks doesn't sell airplanes. They make coffee. They keep the main thing, the main thing. And this is, I mean, that's a little bit of an extension of my thought process, you guys. But when you transition to authentic ability, you're doing the things that you love to do, that you're passionate about, that you're good at, using my language that the creator loved you into existence to do. A, you'll never work another day in your life. B, you'll be way more effective, way more impactful, and a hell of a lot more prosperous with a whole lot less work. I contend, using Tim Ferriss as an example, his 4-hour workweek. Tim, he used different language. I think he actually understood, what we're talking about tonight. Okay. So if you signed up for this program, you guys, you should have a couple of worksheets. If you didn't, certainly reach out to me afterwards. I'm happy to send them to you. And I really want to walk you through. And again, I'm a note taker, you guys, from way back. So I would love to be able to share with you what it is that I wanted you to get out of these particular worksheets. Fairly straightforward, but again, still something that I think is worthy of taking a note of. Okay. So let me just share my screen in a different context, you guys. Oh, there's some x-rays up there that need to not be there. So here's my offering, you guys, on again, this concept of authentic ability. Okay. To the degree that we want to increase our effectiveness, okay, to the degree that we want to increase our effectiveness, so that's increasing as we go across this way, to the degree that we can really lock in on what it is that is authentic for us, what we call your authentic ability, right? These two things basically go hand in hand. The more the clearer you get in delegating and letting go of all of the things that are not authentic to you, so that you're really focusing on those high priority things that are your authentic ability, is to the degree that your effectiveness will just absolutely skyrocket, right? So pretty simple diagram, you guys, but again, something that I think is pretty impactful in terms of its construct, okay? Now, just to try and put this into context, you guys, right? In general, you've got 3 different vibrations, well, actually 4 different vibrations of things that you do relative to, any one of the tasks, priorities, goals that, it is you do. And as I said, you're going to end up with things that are, basically the lower priority things, and things, quite frankly, that you are just really, make sure the biped works. You're quite frankly just really terrible at, okay? Just things that you suck at. You're really just not that good at it. And they probably drive you crazy when you do them. But again, I'll go back to, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Just because you're capable, because you're bright, because you're gifted, because you're ambitious, because, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So whatever those things are, you definitely want to write those down. Those are things that you're terrible at. Quite frankly, I'll use another word here, you guys. I will even use this word. It seems a bit stronger. You're incompetent. And they definitely burn your britches when you have to do them. Okay. In this circle, you guys, these are the things that you're just average at, right? The best you could hope to be is average. From a bookkeeping perspective, our bookkeeper, Tanya, is a rock star. I've had 8 bookkeepers in my professional career as of this recording, almost 35 years. And head and shoulders, Tanya's head and shoulders over any of the other ones that I've had, right? If I took nights courses and university courses, and the best I could hope to be is average at bookkeeping, it does not inspire me. I know it has to be done. I sure as hell don't want to do it, right? Tanya was loved into existence to do that. So those are the things, you guys, that basically are, down in the sort of the lower, if you will, the lower vibration things. You definitely want to be able to find ways to delegate, see if I can squeeze this in, or just, quite frankly, just dump them. Just stop doing these things, okay? And you're going to free up a whole bunch of time. Well, what are you going to do with your freed up time? Well, you're going to enjoy your life, for one, okay? But you're also going to really get focused on the things that you are excellent at, right? These are some of the things that you just excel at, and they bring you, but the difference between authentic ability and things that you're really good at, you guys, is that they don't bring you that much inspiration. They don't light you up. They don't excite you. They don't bring you the juice and the joy. You don't get done it and just like you're vibrating and you're just wondering, right? Really, you guys, that's what's kept right here, right in the heart of all of this, where all of these things intersect. And I can promise you that it's a relatively small number of things. Let's put this in a nice funky color here, you guys. This authentic ability, you guys, this part of it here is a byproduct of all of these other things as they come together, okay? And you let go of these things, it gives you the time to really focus on those things that are your authentic ability, that are your high priorities items, that the creator loved you in existence to do more of them, less of the other stuff. Will never work another day in your life. You'll be way more fulfilled, way happier, and you'll be a hell of a lot more prosperous as well. Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions at this stage? I'm happy to entertain questions in the chat before I move through this last sort of piece of the puzzle here. Dan, you good? Good. All right. Bill, you good? Jerry, you good? Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, listen, let's bring this baby in for a landing then. All right, as we walk through these final sort of steps here. Okay, get everything operational again, right? Okay, so as I said, you know, the teacher in me, the coach in me, right? I literally, I can't help myself. Here's my recommendations to you guys that are live and those of you that are going to be watching this on the recordings, right? Here's my recommendations. Step one, list your activities. And I mean everything you do. Usually when I do this exercise and I review it periodically, I'll do it. I'll list all the stuff, you guys. I'll put it down for a couple hours. I'll come back, reread it. Oh yeah, I forgot this. I forgot that. And you're not just talking about any one. I mean, you can use one day as an example, right? As you list all of the things you do personally, professionally, but I would think about it over the course of at least a week or two, all right? Because there's some things that you don't do every day. Maybe it only happens once a week or something, right? And you want to be able to get it all down. Get them all down, put it down a couple of days, think about it overnight, finish it up, give yourself at least a couple of days to list all of the activities. And then do that exercise I just described, where you just are separating out the incompetent, the average things. You're looking for the excellent and of course the authentic ability things, the things you're great at, but bring you joy and juice. That's the good stuff. That's the authentic ability. That's how to be impactful. That's how to be effective. Work less, make more impact, have a lot more free time. I'll tell you, I was talking about our client, Jonathan, earlier in the conversation. And one of the things that I really admire about Jonathan is that he really took the coaching to heart, of course, and he had this huge boon in his business and he was working 50% less. So one of the things that he did with his spare time, you guys, is he got back to even more dedicated to his fitness. And man, he leaned out. The guy's in his 60s and he looks like a friggin' like a bronzed Adonis, for God's sakes. He's really ripped. And he went back to, after 30 years, while I was in practice, he was too busy to play the piano. But he used to play the piano at a really high level. And he went back to playing the piano. And within months, literally just like reconnected with a lot of old patterns and memories and stuff in his brain. And he sent me, literally, I'm not embarrassed to say this out loud, you guys, but it took me to tears streaming down my face. He sent me 2 recordings. This is several years ago. He sent me 2 recordings of piano he had played, that he just did live recordings in his home of this piano. And I'm not talking, he's, playing some Mickey Mouse stuff. These were like Mozart concertos, for heaven's sakes. And he gets to the end of it and he goes, and thanks, Coach Tom. Couldn't have done this without you. And it's like, dude, it took me to friggin' tears, because I mean, that's me fulfilling my purpose, you guys. That's my authentic ability, right? To be able to help him do what he loves to do so that he can, do what he's meant to do as well. All right. The last part of me as a coach goes, when are those 2 activities going to be done? So if you're a note taker, get a deadline down right now before we push through this next slide. Get a deadline for when you're going to have these exercises done. When are you going to list those activities? When are you going to separate the chaff from the wheat? And at least have that awareness about the things you want to let go of or delegate versus the things you want to focus on. So please do yourself a huge favor right now. Give us a deadline. Are you going to have it done by, as of this recording? I mean, June 28th or July 2nd or July 5th? As my great mentor, Dr. DeMartini, taught me years ago, that a goal without a deadline, it's just a wish. It's not a goal, right? So if you're going to be, if you want to actually be more effective and impactful, do the exercise, put yourself a deadline, hold yourself accountable. Okay. All right. So, as I said, we do these conversations. We call them magic shows because no one likes to go to a webinar. They're boring, but we do magic at magic shows, right? So we do these magic shows on average every 2 weeks. As of this recording, there'll be another one July 7th, 2022 at 7:30 Eastern. And this is actually one that's very near and dear to my heart because I've done this with literally thousands of clients over the years. How to grow like magic by knowing this number. Every business person, every practitioner needs to know their numbers. But there's one number that's way more important than all the others. We call it your magic number. And in this particular training, we're going to be running our way through that. Okay. So again, our roadmap tonight, you guys, we're focusing in the manifestation energy band in the authentic expression. And, on behalf of the rest of the coaching team, thanks for taking time out of your lives to be here. It's an absolute honor for me to be able to fulfill my purpose by spending time with you. And hopefully something that we share tonight can inspire you to live more authentically and fulfill your purpose, your mission, fulfill your vision, and the reason why the Creator loved you into existence. Anybody have any questions before we wrap for tonight?